Welcome back, Panozzo. How was Vegas, man?
Vegas was it was a whirlwind. It was just a couple of days out there at the APA Championships and doing the Beard Digest live episode, which was a lot of fun doing it there on site. They do an amazing job there with their setup and their tournament out there. The arena is spectacular. Yeah, it was a cool event to be at.
Looked like a lot of pool players in one room. A lot of griping, I'm sure, was somewhere involved in there.
They're pretty good. I think. I mean, I didn't really see any dust ups or there's certainly a lot of pool players. I don't know, 260 tables, whatever it is, So
Well, that's our child's play, I guess. No, I'm kidding. It looks like a lot of work that goes into all that and
oh
coordinating all
man, I
that.
can't even imagine the logistics.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
no chance. But I mean, how was the weather, Mike? Because Vegas in what is it, August?
yeah, you know what? I actually came back with a little bit of a cold, and I think it's because it was 100 plus, and it's dry,
Yeah,
and then you're in the hotels and casinos and in these ballrooms, and it's freezing cold.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just so it your body just gets whacked out on
Well,
on
even
that
just the
that
airport's
up and
cold,
down.
man. When I'm flying, I'm always
Right.
cold. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So but it's still always a good time.
Well, Mike, I want to start the show with some breaking news that just came out right a few minutes before we went live. I don't know how much of breaking news it can be, but
Worst kept secret in pool.
yeah. Well, this is part of what you get when you have when people are able to do math. Uh, um, but Francisco's back. El Ferrari back for another year. First guy announced. There was a lot of question marks leading into his rookie year, Mike, and it seems like there's not going to be any more discussion when it comes to what this guy can do.
Yeah, no, you know, he's still one of the top players to beat in any tournament, and started the year off strong and holding on to that points lead, securing the first automatic bid for either team. Skyler's pretty close for Team USA, but
Right.
you have to see how these next couple days go. But yeah, FSR is back in there at number one, so that takes it gives you a little sense of how things are going for Team Europe. You know, the two and three automatic bids are going to be interesting to watch since Eklund Kachi's injury. Right, that changes up that whole dynamic a
It's
lot, kind of throws it
wide
all.
open, Mike.
Yeah, it's wide open there for those second and third automatic bids. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Well, it's like that old cliche in sports, Mike. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. And
Yeah,
if for me, when you talk about the two players, just named in Francisco and Kachi, it's kind of in a lot of senses opposite. Where Fran started off really good. Well, I guess Fran and Clint started off really good, but they both kind of tapered off a little bit for me. I mean, not Kachi; he's just not going to be around anymore.
right.
Francisco
I mean,
just
because he
hasn't.
was the hottest player this year. He started
It
out
wasn't
this year
close,
like
Mike.
Fran last year, right?
Yeah, it
So
wasn't
yeah,
close.
yeah.
He looked
So
like he was just on a runaway train to just dominate this year. Probably would have been the betting favorite coming into the European, But now, even though he's at a good spot on points, there's going to be a lot of question marks leading into the end of the year. Even if he's able to make it back onto the table, before December, Mike. So,
yeah, a lot of
um,
questions to be answered there.
yeah, no kidding. Have you heard anything, Mike, as far as like how his recovery or anything like that's coming along?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was messaging with him today, and he's finally getting out of the hospital today. He's on his way
That's
home for the first time since the accident, and his final surgery set up, I think, 2 weeks from now to kind of sew everything up, patch everything up, get his plates in his arms squared away, and then send him on his way. So it was a rough road. I mean, he said that at the beginning they weren't sure he was going to get the full use of his hand back. So scary
that's scary,
stuff.
Mike, for a pool player.
It is, and he did jokingly vowed, no more living life on the edge. He said, "I've always been, crazy, do everything, do everything at 100% tilt and drive like a maniac. And he said all
He's
those
been
days are done.
infamous for that, Mike.
Yeah,
Like off, in the circuit, but off the table. He's known to kind of
he
to,
lives
and
heavy. Yeah, he's and he's one of those
you're young,
young, big, strong, confident guys, and you just feel like you're
in,
indestructible.
invincible.
And
Yeah,
that changed in an instant, and he's lucky, to get away with it. Is much as we can say he got away with it, he had some serious injuries to his arm, but it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, we're going to see a new, quieter, more docile Kachi in the future, I guess. I'll believe that when I see
I was about to say the exact same thing. I'll believe that whenever we see it.
it.
But there's going to
Seems to
be
be in good spirits, and that's a
that's
great
important.
thing. And you want to
Yeah,
see him get back as soon as you can. You don't want him to rush it because you want him to be healthy for the next 60 years of his life.
right.
But you want to see him come back, and you want to see him be in a good enough form to make, if he's not an automatic bid, to make the captain, whoever the captain's going to be, think really hard about, does this guy just still, do we owe him a spot on this year's team? Can he carry his own weight?
That's going to be the main thing.
Yeah,
Is Kenny carry his own throughout that like jungle that you're going to have out there come this December. And
right,
it's pool is very flavor of the day. How are you hitting them right now?
right.
Francisco was on a tear for 20 months it seemed like, and then now he's kind of come down to earth just a little bit. I mean, by his standards,
Yeah,
but it's like you don't know what you're gonna get with Kachi come this December, even if he's around. Obviously, we hope that he's just okay in general first, but then you start thinking about form, and you're gonna be so stacked 1 through 4 no matter what, right, Mike? I mean, that's just what
right,
you can expect. But
right,
coming into the year, we would have never said that Kachi was going to be like, we always said that he had to earn his way on that
right,
team, that he wasn't
right.
going to get in there on a captain's pick. And now it's very much shifted the other way, Mike.
It has, and a lot of that's going to depend on who the captain is, right? I mean, if it's an Alex Laley again or someone like that, you've done this before. You know Kachi, you know the teams, you know how these action goes. If it's someone new who's not been a captain before for Team
Yeah.
Europe, then that person's going to have a lot of pressure on him in year one. Are you going to roll the dice with someone who's not 1,000% when you have to make that last pick in November, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
I think this whole like getting in on points thing is going to ruffle a lot of feathers because it's going to make a lot of these, elder statesmen that are just used to getting in because of their, the show, and now you're gonna have to earn it a little bit. This event
Right.
more than ever, and Kachi's absence from this event and from the events in the next few months are really gonna make it wide open for any and everyone. And I think you're gonna get a rookie in there, Mike, just on automatic points alone, because I think that the game in general is just that much more wide open than it's
It
ever
is,
been.
yeah, it is wide open, and there's a chance for anybody to get in there. And I'll give Matchroom credit for shifting a lot of these things. Emily talked about it with you yesterday. These getting into the Masters, getting into some of these invitation events. It's all going to be based on rankings, and that
Right.
was never the Matchroom way. It was to a certain extent, but they always left a lot of wiggle room for, TV friendly people or
Of
a
course.
country that you want to have involved or whatever. And now they're kind of making a commitment to as completely merit based as they can come, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing for all the players. I mean, you talk to a lot of American and European players in previous years who wish it was like that then
There's a lot
because
of salt, a lot of salt, Mike.
yeah, yeah, there was a lot of favoritism. There was a lot of good old boy network, and some of it I understood. I mean, some of it was Matchroom saying, "Listen, this is a TV production. This isn't, this isn't merit based. This is we want the best show we can put on TV." And sometimes it's how you end up with Steve Davis on the Moscone Cup for 7 years because he was an automatic draw, right? So you understood all that. So and now they're getting to the point where they think they can take a more straight up, more professional, merit-based approach to a lot of these things, and that's what you want to see. That's what all the players want to see, right?
Well, I think because of the from a talent standpoint, how overwhelming Europe's going to be. If you're Emily or if you're an American fan, you kind of want a rookie to get in. You want to see a guy who's going to
Oh,
shake
sure. I'd love to
it
see
at the
5
knees.
rookies on there.
Yeah, yeah, so but with that 3-2 mark, you got 3 getting in on points, 2 getting in on wild cards. It's a good balance, but there's just a lot of guys who I have a lot of questions, come August of this year, Mike, where I don't think I felt like that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
There was a few guys that are just like anchors, and they're going to be there, they're going to deliver. The one guy who I would think is Mr. Dependable, ain't even. I think I saw on your Budge Digest live graphic where Filler wasn't even on a top 5 when it comes to points.
No, no.
So
Top 5 when it comes to points.
yeah, but he would be the guy from my head thinking that, hey, this is the guy I know is going to be there in December, and I know what I'm going to get from him.
Well, we've all made the assumption that Jason Shaw has one of the wild card picks, right? If he doesn't get in on points, he's up there in points, so he could earn it on points. If he doesn't, we all make the assumption he's going to be on the team. So now, if you get in a situation where you've got 2 picks and you've got Jason sitting out there, and you've got Filler sitting out there, and you've got Kachi sitting out there, and you've
I'm
got
sorry to
Alvin.
say, Mike, but you wouldn't pick Kachi then if that's
Correct, and that,
if that's the company.
you likely wouldn't.
Yeah.
If he's playing really good, he's gonna give you pause.
Yeah, and it's going to make for a lot of these guys that we've seen year in and year out just really be scoreboard watching in this event and in the next few, because it is going to be such a stat calendar. It is going to be kind of a gauntlet for a lot of these guys, whether you're going to Vietnam or the U.S. Open that's coming up, international. What else am I missing, Mike? There's like 2 events in Vietnam.
We got the Asian Open. You got the international.
Yeah.
Well, the international won't come for this year. So you got the U.S. Open, the Asian Open. Those are the 2 final big ones. But if someone out of that top 5 from Europe wins the UK Open or the US Open, they're in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the U.S. Open by itself, I think isn't that going to be like around a $60,000 first place?
Yeah. So that'll
welcome to the team right there.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's all it takes, just given that how open it is for this side. But like I said, even Francisco, while it's well deserved, and there's no doubt about it that he deserves to be on that team, it still isn't the same dominating guy that we saw for the last couple of years. And I don't know if it's just his break or what it is. It just seems like it's not as automatic when it comes to the out or him running away with it as we've seen before. Another guy who's going to be talked about quite a bit in the next couple of months just survived 2 opening dramatic matches in Federer, Mike.
Yeah, well, Federer, he was down 8-2 in his first match and won 9-8, and he was down 7-3 in the second match and won 9-7. So, these weren't against Kachi and FSR. So he's got some work to do to get his game back, in good form to get through the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you're going to have to be collecting points while you can if you're a guy like that, because we've seen him, left out of teams before in years past. He's already stated that he intends on skipping the event out in Jason's place to attend the Predator event. So, he's going to leave points on the table there. There's no doubt that he's a top 5 player on earth right now, at least for me, but it's a different animal. The captain's going to be a whole other, wrench thrown in this whole equation. Mike, who are you hearing is in the mix for Team Europe? I know you got to know somebody. I'm not the only one who knows.
I got nothing. I've
don't give me that, Mike. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
I've messaged a few people here and there that not just have they even heard any inklings? Who do they think? Have they heard any names thrown into the discussion? Right. And really, a lot of people are like, listen, this is as tight-lipped as I've ever, seen it in terms of trying to determine, who the betting favorites are. It's a tough one to call.
Give me a few names, Mike. Give me something who.
Well, we know that there's been inklings that Alex Laley's interested again, right?
For 40,000, you wouldn't be interested, Mike.
Well,
for a good chance at 40. I mean,
I would, of
a
course,
real
I'd
good
be
chance.
interested. I just don't know, and we've talked about this before. He kind of pulled himself out last year,
He did.
and said he was kind of done or whatever. And I don't know that if I'm Emily, I'm just gonna hold the door open for him again a year later when he says, you know what, maybe I would like to do it again. So
He is out there in Fulda right now, by the way. I saw him on the players list, and
he's in
for whatever that's
Fulda.
worth.
You know, yeah, Johan's in Fulda.
He is, yeah. Right. I mean, it's really it leaves a lot to be thought about when it comes to these picks, and we know from experience, we know from years past that Emily's not afraid to pull that card when it comes to making sure it's as dramatic or talked about as it can be. And
Yeah,
uh, listen, you're getting whether you're getting 20 or 40 for, let's just say, a 4 month gig, right, from August till December. It's a pretty
right.
sweet deal, Mike.
It's
So
not a bad deal at all. And it's
and
it's
I can't see these picks coming up flat, Mike. That's the only thing. I can't see, like, as much as I love Jeremy and an Alex, and I think that they're deserving of the job. It would just be tough for me to like think that after all this, we're going to end up with
same
those
guys.
two
Yeah,
with
no,
same guys
I
coming back again.
my if I had to bet, I would say that Jeremy's a really good shot for Team USA, and I would say
That's
we will
good
see. I will say we will see someone new for Team Europe. And who that would be, I don't know. Are they going to go traditional coaching route and take one of the coaches from some of these, better countries that have good national teams? Someone who's used to that kind of
because
structure and things
they
like
got a
that.
good relationship with those federations right now.
Yeah, right.
Which is a whole other conversation.
Well, that's a possibility. Everybody looks at Neil's name has been popular to throw up there, and I think in a couple of years it'll be a real popular choice. But I think the first thing Niels would have said to Emily is, "Listen, I'm going after one of these 5 spots. I don't need this other distraction hanging over me right now." So yeah, and
And he
that just
looks like
kind of
he's on the cusp, Mike. He looks like he's on the cusp of legitimately being in the
he is.
conversation. You know,
You make a semifinal here or something like that, and he's in a serious part of the conversation. And he's played well enough this year, to make those kind of runs. So
well, before we get over to the European Open and the first round, some other matchups, let's just talk about the Americans for a minute, Mike. We know
yeah,
Sky's in a really good spot, leads SVB by, I think, a little over 10,000 in points. Looking at the payouts of the European, second place pays out 15,000. So it's second place or bust
right.
if you're Captain America. Is that fair, Mike?
And pretty much Sky has to be kept out of the money, right? It's because if Sky adds more money to his thing, it makes it even tougher. So
Right.
yeah, I mean but that's they're both going to be on the team. They're both going to be 1 and 2.
Of course.
So it's just which one gets the first pick and which one gets the second pick.
You
So that's
you
it's
know
kind of a
Shane,
done
Mike.
deal.
You know Shane for a long time, better than most. Um, how much does it? How much do you think it annoys him, the idea of not being that first pick, or how much do you think it motivates him to maybe not be that first pick?
I think zero.
Really?
I think zero. I think he's got, he's hit at a tournament like this. He's got too much on his mind trying to win matches, win a title, things like that. He knows he's going to be on the team. After the picks are made, no one's going to talk about, when we come to December
But then why
1st,
would he? Why would
nobody's
he
going to
go
be,
to like Iowa? Why would he go to these other?
well, one, he plays tournaments to win money and he goes to Iowa. He's got a lot of better chance of winning first prize in Iowa than he does the European Open.
Oh, that's fair.
So, and it keeps him in stroke, things like that. So I think that, he always wants to win. He always wants to be the top dog. I don't think not being the first guy picked is going to put him on tilt.
I think that Shane looks more motivated, like right now, than I've seen in a long time, and I think that that's where uh, it can be scary for a lot of people. And as tough as it is to go on a run, Shane's that guy where if he's got a chip on his shoulder, can go on a run.
Yeah.
So um, I'm
But you
I'm
also know Shane is the kind of guy where his whole demeanor can change in a match
that's
or in a
true.
tournament or in a day or whatever. So So yeah, you like to see him hungry and motivated because that's a fun Shane to watch play pool.
No, notable American who's not there, Mike, is Shane Wolford again
Right.
for another major. A guy that's been talked about when it comes to points. A lot of people expect him to be there this December and to at the very least be a wild card pick, even though he would be a rookie. What are your thoughts on Wolford not making out? Have you heard any reasons why?
Um, you know, no, I've not heard a lot of reasons. Originally, he told me that he had something going on with his girlfriend, some commitment or whatever. But um, it's a big nut to go over there and play, and I think that he feels like he's playing enough, and he's playing enough against good competition, and he's playing enough on big tables, not on bar tables like he was a couple of years ago. And so I think he feels like his game is in a good enough spot where he'll he'll take his chances on whether or not he makes the team as a
It's
captain's
risky,
pick.
Mike.
It is, but you know, Billy Thorpe is over here, right? He's playing in the European Open. Tyler's playing the European Open. So, um, you could get to that. You're still looking at a fifth pick at the worst. That's uh, you know, it's if it's not Shane Wolford, then who is it? And I think Shane knows that. Not that he disrespects anybody else who would be considered, but you know, give me your other options at number five. If that's assuming you're even going with like a number four of,
Right.
Shane, Sky, Tyler, and Billy. And I think
Yeah,
Billy
but
needs
you
to earn more points to get a solid spot in there too. But if you took those four, give me another
But
number five.
at least with Billy, you got intangibles and experience with Billy. And I think that if you're Shane, it's hard for me to understand why you would want to, have it set up itself to be a similar situation as it did last year. Where nobody earned their way on, by this point, and then come the last minute, you kind of have an
I'll
oral
be honest with you
situation
too. I
kind of
don't
come up.
I don't know that the Moscone Cup is the be all and end all to Shane Wolford. I had a couple discussions with him in the past where he said, that it's a great thing, but this is not why I'm playing pool. So
So
I
what is
think
it then,
that
Mike? In your opinion?
what is it? What motivates Shane Wolford?
Yeah, yeah,
Winning money and playing tournaments. It's win the next tournament, win the next tournament. Not I'm winning this and this and this because I want to get to here.
yeah.
He's young. He's playing to learn, playing to win. Um, that's just my thought.
I think that's fair. It's responsible too in some aspects, but you know how it is, Mike. Tricky things could happen in October and November.
Yeah,
And we've seen guys who we thought were deserving be left off teams. Guys with a lot, you know, bigger resume, and I mean this with all due respect, than Shane Wolford.
right.
So that's kind of where you just have to be honest about where you're planning on going. Now, if it's just finances and a bottom line kind of deal, I get that. Because it's tough.
It
It's
is
very
tough.
difficult. We had that conversation with Shane just recently, Mike. So no argument there, but. Anyhow, there's a lot of players who are there at the European Open, Mike, and I'm going to bring up the brackets here in just a second. So let's just kind of browse through this opening round. Hold on one second. There we go. I'm still getting used to using all these new toys, buddy. So uh, a lot of this day one seemed to be a lot of chalk, Mike.
Yeah, and a lot of lopsided scores, which I don't care whether it's they always made fun of the big field at the U.S. Open. The first round all being dead wood, but there's a lot of 9-0, 9-1, 9-2s over here too.
Well, that's true, but there was also like we mentioned earlier that one with Federer that was pretty surprising, Mike. Where he ends up I think down 8-2 in that opening
Yeah,
match. With and then you think, okay, well he survived the storm, only to find out that I think he was in a what was it like a 7-2 kind of hole in the second
seven
round.
7-3 in the second round. Yeah. So, but he battled back, and sometimes you've seen there are certain players who it takes them a little longer to get rolling. Sky has said that notoriously when he goes to these events overseas, things like that. That he ends up taking the long road through the loser's side to get back into that single elimination. And he says he kind of plays himself back into stroke. So there are some guys that maybe just take a little bit longer to get rolling than others. He didn't, I saw the second match. He didn't look comfortable, confident. I saw him interviewed after the first match, and he said he just, he had no feel in his arm because he had no confidence, and he was brain dead, and and he's made
You're talking about Federer.
yeah, and the same thing happened in the second match. So, he needs to pull it back together now.
Well,
Now he's playing Babika in the third round, right?
very
So
very
yeah,
seasoned
he's
veteran,
in full
but
there.
yeah, by far out of his first three opponents, the more name threat you would think. But I just want to get your thoughts on the bigger picture here, Mike, when it comes to seeing, things like this going happen. Is this just like, a dodgy start for Federer, or is this kind of like something that we're going to start seeing more and more often, where a lot of these lesser known players are just going to be able to upset now that they know there's going to be more consistency when it comes to rules and format and things like that on the tour?
Um, yeah, you know, I'm not thinking in the first and second round you're going to see those kind of upsets much. No
Right.
matter how much more these guys play, you're still talking about number 128 to number 256. So, but do I think that the number of people who can win these big matches is going to grow? Yeah, sure, much more so in the next year or so than it has been in the past. But I think this is more a case of Federer just not being prepared to go out there and play his type of game. And who knows, maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself to win one of these Matchroom events. He's talked about that being a big thing to him, and everyone else talks about it and brings it up, and he hasn't had the greatest resume in the world in Matchroom events. So, maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself and he's not focused, but we'll see.
Well, I the kid just likes to win. What are you going to do? And uh, we had that conversation about Shane for many years, Mike, when it comes to being able to win an event overseas. That
Right.
was something that was talked. I mean, not by you, of course, because you were just the Shane. He could do no wrong. But that was something that I think was honest and realistic. And even that world championship question that we had when it comes to SVB. Now we don't have those kind of things when it comes to Federer, but that matchroom victory is something that can be discussed, and he wants it, Mike. That was something that he said this year is a goal for him. So,
Sure.
and I don't
Well,
think winning.
he's not alone. I mean, Jason Shaw, another great player who doesn't have that type of win on his
Yeah, but
resume.
if you're a fan of Jason or Jason himself, you're going to say, well, I just won the International Open. Was it back to back years?
No, not back to back, but
No.
he's won the International Open
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
But it's not a Matchroom event. So we're still talking. Federer's won a lot of stuff too, but not a Matchroom event.
Right.
So yeah.
Who do you think leading into the event, Mike? Who were you looking at to kind of make a push, to make a run, to kind of step out into their own light from maybe these top Europeans or even the few Americans that are peppered in there?
Well, if I looked at this field, I was looking for an Asian player to make the big move. Uh, Whether it's another co-performance for one of the co's, or a Chua or an Uranus, or one of the Chinese players, Taiwanese players. So I was kind of expecting, if I had to roll dice on something, I would have picked an Asian player to win here. As far as European players, we say it pretty much every one of these big events. I like Mario He. It's kind of like an automatic. It's kind of like your Max Lechner from 2 years ago.
Well,
Um,
I still like Mario, winning an event. I do, but it's hard with Mario. The difference is that it's not about talent or his ability to execute. It's about when it gets tough. That's
right.
the thing that you're
You
gonna
can
have a
pull through.
question
Yeah.
mark when it comes, because it's one thing when you're front running or you're steamrolling and you just get a rhythm and everything just kind of you're blind to everything else. But when you really get in the thick of it, when you really get in tough spots, I know what I've seen, and I
Yeah.
want him, and I want to see him do better, because I know he can be a top tier player. I think he can be
Yeah.
that kind of 1A player. With Federer, even though people talk about it a lot, they talk about it a lot because he's a number one tier kind of guy, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. You've seen
So
him win in the clutch. You've seen him win big,
yeah,
whether it's
yeah.
long races or whatever. His tent doesn't fold very often. As far as American players, I mean, based on this year, you're hoping Sky breaks through and wins one of these. He's been knocking at the door twice already this year. You want to see him get over that hump. Other American players, hard for me to really envision one reaching the finals.
Well, you
Other,
just had Tyler on Billiards Digest Live, Mike. What were your
right.
thoughts after talking with him?
I mean, he's a confident kid with great ability, but we haven't seen him go too far in many of these events. So, with him, I think if I'm happy as a lark and happy for him if he hit like a final eight, reach quarterfinals, that'd be great. But if you say pick a dark horse to win the thing, I'm probably not going there.
I'm looking through this bracket, Mike, here on the back end. I'm seeing a kind of an upset. Well, I mean, it should be an upset. Labutis goes down to Carl Nadenberg from Estonia. Looks like from scoreline of 9-3. Matches are still going on right now. Some second round matchups also. So, a guy who we saw go deep in the last event out there in Spain, Mike, going down in the second round here in Fulda. It looks like Gary Wilson, Mike. I don't think he's just a snooker player anymore. He takes down Chen, a strong Taiwanese, very seasoned rotation player. Do you
I
think that
think
one?
he's
Do you think
excited. I
you
think
think
he's
you think Gary
excited.
can make a run?
I don't know. We'll see how can he make a run? Yeah, he's shown the past he can get to the final 16. Easily. Not easily, but he's got that kind of firepower, and I think that he appears to be excited about the challenge. And so if you get someone who's got that type of cue talent to start with,
Yeah.
and you teach him a little bit about the game, and now he gets really excited. He's not just doing a Judd Trump. He's in there and he's like playing to win. Dangerous, really dangerous.
Do you still think it would be like a discredit to the sport, or as
No,
if a
no.
guy like
At
that
this
were
point, no, because he's obviously putting in the time and the effort and the enthusiasm to do this. He's not just
so
showing up,
it's not
asking the
gimmicky
rules
anymore.
day one. Yeah. He's not asking about the rules on day one and pulling out his snooker cue and hoping for the best. He's obviously taking this a little more seriously, and I got a lot of respect for that.
Well, you better give him respect because I'm sure one of these days we're gonna have him on here, and I'm gonna make sure and let him know what you thought about him
He was
early
wearing
on.
a he was wearing a toga at the last event. I mean,
Pool needs more damn characters, Mike. Don't give me that. He lost a bet and the man was paying up. That's what we need. We need that. Well, I mean, you remember December with Billy on the sidelines there with the overalls and
I was trying to unsee
a,
that picture.
a Bud Lights, going across the chest there. No, I like these guys who I like the storylines within there, and I hope that more of those players, just on a personality standpoint, start showing more, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think that's what favors some of these, maybe like a Jason, right, who can wear his emotions on his sleeve.
right.
Even Federer, for better or worse. Now, I mean, I know Federer's pace of play can be a little difficult at times, but he can show emotion, as well. We both talked to him whenever he can be on tilt, and he's got some character to him, right, Mike? So
He absolutely does.
yeah. But no, I think I'm looking forward to this event, but I didn't get to watch a whole lot this morning. It was a late start for me. But if I were to give you, let's say, Taiwan and the Philippines versus Europe, Mike, who are you betting on there
To win this event, to,
to
to
win
put
the
someone
event?
to put someone in the winner's circle.
Yeah,
Um,
the Asians have been doing pretty good, Mike. You had Dang win in
yeah, you do.
in
They
Spain.
haven't doing, but just sheer numbers. I think you got you know 8 or 9 Europeans who can do this, and maybe to me 6 or 7 Asian. But I'll still go ahead and take the Asian winner.
The one thing about some of these guys from Asia is that I never really see them rattle. Like you'll see them lose,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but
yeah.
rattle is different, Mike.
Right.
Dog it is different, and that's something that for what a lot of these Europeans can have from talent and ability, like early on, while they're getting their wheels greased. And there's some of them where you just got a lot of question marks still, and can they get over that hump? I think that I'm hoping it's going to be somebody new from Europe. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't think you can. It's tough to bet against like Pinyi or Ping Chung. Chua, Anton, and James. Out of the three, I'd probably take James up top from on a tournament ranked by, and then Chua, and then Anton.
Right.
Surprisingly, but they're so top heavy with those Cole brothers because they're different. They're a different animal,
Yeah.
and they've been showing like from, I mean, the
Man.
whirlpool from early on in the year, Mike.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, they're both in pretty good stroke this year.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody's going to want to face them, late in the tournament. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think I'm going to be looking forward to watching the next few days, Mike. But give me our usual. Give me the usual. The favorite and the dark horse to snap it off early on in the event.
Favorite. Um, I'm going to go Pinyi Ko.
Okay, it's about as chalk as you can get. I'm all right. I'm there.
um, and well, I said Asia, and I'm going to pick the top Asia if you're looking for favorite.
Do you
Uh,
think he's a top Asian? I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the best one and under his roof.
you
I don't
think
think he's
Ping
the.
Chung is better than Pinyi
I
Ko?
listen. Let me tell you something, and this is honest to God. If they ever do match up, which would be a dream for Matchroom, in a tournament like that'd be better than the fillers matching up late in the
Yeah.
tournament.
Well, you hope so.
Fire on Ping Chung. He's had Big Brother's number for many, many years. I'm telling you, because I've watched them play quite a bit in like off events,
Yeah.
and Ping Chung always got Big Brother's number. I'm not discrediting what Pingy can do, but go Ping Chung. I'm telling you, man. I think he's better than Big Brother right now. I just do.
Okay.
You know,
Dark horse, I'll take James.
the guy just won a World Cup of pool. Was that a dark horse?
Yeah, it's a team event. If German would have won, would you said that Moritz wasn't the dark horse?
Well, yeah,
And
but
James
Moritz,
did
but
not.
Moritz
Chua
ain't, ain't,
carried
ain't, ain't James.
Chua carried James at the World Cup of Pool.
Well, yeah, that part's yeah, but James came clutch whenever he needed to. Just to give you guys some more score updates, SVB's on the hill against Mark Vidal. Let me see here. Speaking of James, he's up 3-0 on Mickey Krause.
Yeah, and I
James.
saw Filler was down 6-5 to Tony Drago and ended up winning 9-6.
Oh, did he? Oh, nice. Well, I'm sure that breaks a lot of Americans' heart as they love watching Filler go down. But Jason Shaw is up 7-5 on some guy I've never heard of. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. I'm just looking over some more of these live scoreboard that they got on matchroompool.com where you guys can check out all the action. But if I'm going favorite, it's so hard to win, and I want to pick Koping Chung. I do, and just to be proving my point to you whenever that comes, maybe I
Take
will.
him.
But
Take him.
how about just to last longer between the brothers, Mike, me and you, for something friendly, huh? When am I
All right.
when am I going to see you next? I'm going to see you in
In
a few weeks, ain't I?
Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, okay. I'll
Okay.
take Ping Chung in a last longer against Koping.
Okay.
Um,
And we'll
and
bet some
then
kind
which
of like, crabs or something out there.
yeah. Well, it'll have to be where the other guy's going to be nervous about looking at the bill. And then I'm gonna take someone who I mentioned on a thread the other day. I'm gonna take Daniel Maciel as a dark horse.
Wow.
Uh, I think last event, that match with Federer, he came up real flat, and I thought that could be kind of a danger zone for Federer, where it's a guy that maybe not a lot of people know about, but they can get to know about him real quick, and he can show what he's made of. I think that guy's ceiling is sky high. I didn't think that he dogged it per se against Federer. I just think Federer played better than him, if that makes
Yeah.
sense to you, but. I'm gonna go with Maciel. He's kind of just been ready to take that next step, and I think this may be his time. So
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm gonna look back in a few days, and he'll probably lose the next two, and then I'll look like an idiot. But yeah.
Is Victor here?
I don't know, Mike. Let me see if I can
I
bring
was
back
kind
up
of
this.
spinning through the things and I didn't see his name and I just, it's possible I missed it, but
Boy, that would be pretty big news if he's not there, and we'd have to find out why. Let me see here.
You know,
Uh,
you see so many
so
Polish flags in there that it's like,
I
uh,
know I saw
I saw
Wojciech earlier.
yeah, Wojciech and Martial and
There's
uh,
Nagaki. Let's see here. There's so many
okay.
tough Polish guys, man. Like Thomas
Oh yeah,
Kaplan. I mean, they can just their 1 through 5 could beat. I think anybody, or at least compete with anybody on earth 1 through
right,
5. There's Babika.
right.
Uh, Mike, he may not be in here. There's
Misko's
Fatunsky.
there. I was wondering if I saw Conrad's name as well.
There's Karol Skowarski for you guys that are checking out the bracket along with us. Um, Mike, it's
So are we
pretty weak.
looking at Sebastian? Oh, there's
Mike,
Victor. Yeah, he's playing
is
Michael
he?
Yednak. Yeah,
Is he? Where
yeah,
did I miss him?
yeah. He plays Michael Yednak tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's a good thing that he's there because he's got to be a top 5. No, maybe not top 5. Maybe top 15. Top
Sure,
15 favorite, something like that. Was that
sure. If you were
I'd say
betting, yeah,
so.
he'd be up there. But I do not see Conrad's name on there.
Well, something's got to be up if he ain't there because he's been playing all the majors. Let's
Right.
see. There's Victor against Yannick, like you were saying. Yeah, I don't know, Mike. I don't know. There's a lot of Polish guys there, but I don't see him there either. So, oh,
Yeah.
there's Conrad. Yeah, Conrad's there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, actually,
So,
he's playing. Conrad's tied up 2-2 on table 6 against Anton Raga right now.
oh,
So
that's a good match. It's a good
that's a
second round
very good.
match there.
That's a very good second round match with Mike. Pretty premier, pretty brutal, depending on who you are drawing that other guy. But um, lots of other stuff this week, Mike. I don't know if you got to catch any of the interview that I had with Emily and any of that WPA
Of course, I was on pins and
drama.
needles watching the whole thing.
I appreciate you, man. Your support is it never ceases to amaze me, man.
No, I thought it was really interesting. I thought she brought up a lot of good points. You know, I think I commented on the thread yesterday that the announcement to me is kind of the definitive statement by Matchroom that we're in this for the long haul as a sport, right? As a tour,
Right.
because they were a promoter. They put on events. This year they put on 10, maybe next year they'll put on 9, next year they could put on 8, whatever the case is. But when they develop an organization, a corporation like they did, and everybody's saying, well, it's for money benefits and tax, right, whatever it is, they're putting structure together to actually run the tour like a business, not like promotion event, not like events that a promoter put on. This is being run like a business, like they did with the PDC with darts, like they did with the World Snooker Tour. So, and you've got their board of directors on there. I mean, Eddie Hearn and Matt Porter. I mean, these are big hitters. And so to me, they're making that commitment. And Matchroom has always been kind of in it for the long haul with their sports. But if it doesn't pan out, they can drop events. I mean, they've
Yeah.
dropped bowling, they can drop gymnastics, they can drop whatever they want. But this to me is them saying, yeah, we're starting a pool company, and it's going to be driven to be like a business, to run pool tournaments and a tour, and this is the way we're going to make money.
What do you say to these fans, Mike, that are like critiquing that? Oh, they've been doing it for 15 years, 20 years, and
and the money's still the same, and yada
yeah,
yada
yeah, yeah,
yada. And
yeah,
okay, so 15, 20 years ago, they were doing 3 tournaments a year, and none of them were open. Okay,
yeah.
now everybody says, well, the money's still not great, and we know that. I mean, the players have said that. The players, it's very difficult for these players to go around the world and play in these events right now. But it's a process. It's a journey. It's right now you don't see major sponsors involved in this. So Matchroom and their other products, whether it's boxing, whatever, they're footing the bill for all this because they're not, I find it hard to believe they're making tons of money off the European Open, and they're putting a ton of money into it from a, logistics standpoint, from the setup standpoint, and into the
Right.
prize money. So, so I think they're doing as well as we could hope anyone to do at this point. And then part of the process is, yeah, okay, we're going to try to use other means like all this broadcast time, all the social media that we keep trying to help these guys build names and become people that, players that people want to go out of their way to watch. Then you start building up numbers, and now you can go to a sponsor and drop a book in front of them and say, listen, this is the type of activity and action and visibility we're getting. This is something to get behind. Now, if you can get some sponsors into it, now all of a sudden there's another zero at the end of the prize funds, and then you've got your growth. But these, it's not, everybody's just like, well, they keep, making tons of money off the players' backs, and they keep putting on more tournaments, and the prize money doesn't go up. You know what? There's another option. Why don't we just run 2 tournaments a year for a ton of money and call it a day? But they're not doing it. They're trying to do it the proper way, to me. And should they make money along the way? Hell yes, it's
a business, Mike.
It's a business.
Right.
I don't want anybody who comes in and says they're going to try to run a tour and they don't need to make any money off whatever. The tour's not going to go anywhere. So it takes money to make money, and that's the approach that Matchroom's taken with it, and I respect the hell out of it.
This whole idea that I've seen in threads and in comments whenever we were live yesterday of exposure is not going to, pay bills for anyone. That may be so in the short term, but that's playing the long game with it, Mike. There's advertisers and companies are only going to want to get in there if there is exposure.
Right.
If there are numbers associated with these players, with these events, and not just you want to talk about the 2 versus 10 model. Listen, the more markets that you're in, the more it's kind of like you're casting a wide net, Mike.
Right.
You're
That's why it's so important for them to get into Asia. It's so important
you're
for them
peppering
to add
yourself
that
all over the world.
Right. And so you have to do that, and because they're not getting sponsors jumping in at this point, now you've got to take all these other little pieces and try to pull together in the same direction to build up those numbers. And part of that is, the top 64 all have social media presence or whatever, which, I mean, let's face it, 2 years ago, they
guys were digging their heels, Mike. Guys were
right.
digging their heels for it.
So it's, it all makes sense to me. And it's the best we could hope for, considering, they're doing this they're doing this the Barry Hearn way. They believe in something, and they're going to just keep throwing money at it. Not just throwing money, but keep trying to build it because they believe it. Barry Hearn, the easiest thing for him would have been bail on Pool 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when he did it for 3 or 4 years and he wasn't, making much money from it. Just move on to something else, and he could have been the first developer of, international cornhole. Who knows? But he stuck with pool. That's what they do. They stick with these sports that they really believe in, and they'll keep trying to find ways to build it. So stick with it. I don't see what the big bitch is about, to tell you the truth. I mean, I understand the player's standpoint. It's like, I don't know how much I can chase this stuff because it costs a lot of money, and that's true. But just most of the players who really want to be the best players in the world are going to stick with it and are going to keep chasing the tournaments, because this is what they do. They play pool, and
right.
Top prize here is bigger than it is at a regional tournament in Nebraska, and that might be easier to win, but a lot of these guys just want to be the best in the world.
Nobody can get them on television the way that Matchroom can. Nobody can get the amount of eyes that Matchroom can, and they are playing to get in these sponsors by, being more strategic when it comes to these moves. Emily mentioned the other day that, DAZN was already picking up the event from day one, which is different than what they have before with previous events. So, like, for all the shitting on them that people want to do, there's progress. Now, it doesn't lead into immediate turnover when it comes to some of this prize fund, but it's a long game, Mike.
Yeah, it's a long game. You keep building a picture. You mentioned getting the views and things like that, and I don't want to shortchange the events that Predator puts on and does, because they have the different model, right? They have the free TV model. We're going to put that out, put as much content out there for everyone to watch.
That's not true anymore, though, because as much as they preach that in the early goings of the world of the Pro Beard series, and they specifically said, hey, listen, we're not going to be behind a paywall Well, now it is behind a paywall. Their one or two TV match tables are not. Those are on YouTube. But
Right.
the way that it was before was that all those tables were available for free. Now they're behind the Kazoo paywall. So that's already shifted for them. Just in the
Right.
last year that nobody's
It's
really
not, I'm just talking just in terms of sheer visibility.
right.
The billiard TV channel gets a lot of views, a lot of views. So, and together they're just increasing the number of people who are watching the game, and the more you increase that overall number, the bigger that small percentage of you know dyed in the wool followers is going to become. And that's how you start making sponsors, other companies kind of open their eyes a little bit and say, hey, this is a sport that people are interested in.
All it takes is just one or two people to kind of say, hey, listen, there's an opportunity and I can buy in cheap right now. Because
Right.
buying in on pool right now is still very cheap if this thing were to go and go anywhere. So all it takes is just one visionary to kind of take that leap, and it all starts with just showing them that, hey, there's something here, there's somebody here, there's players, there's storylines, there's excitement, there's drama, and it's got to be presented the right way. Like I feel like Matchroom, I mean, even Predators media team does a great job, of kind of showcasing the dramatic spots in the tournament.
Right.
But anyhow, the European Open continues on the rest of the week. I'm sure me and Mike will be going live periodically throughout the event. I think I might be gone the next couple of days. I'll find out here in a few hours. But
Well, get
I will
Joey
be.
to do the show.
I get a hold of him. Get a hold of him, and then we'll see. Yeah, if I get a hold of Joey, I will. Although the last time we spoke, he said he was going to be out there in Washington, so I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing him, and hopefully we can have him on before then. I know he just got back from San Diego, so we'll
Do I
see.
get to
But
do the show if you guys draw each other in the first round?
are you gonna go? Are you gonna go live
If you
if
if you play Joey in the first round of the Don Weir Memorial, absolutely.
are we gonna
I'll
make
do
Billiards
play by
Digest
play.
live? Mike's gonna be doing the commentary. Well, then I'll be even more looking forward to that draw. So, hey, listen, we appreciate all you guys for making this part of your afternoon. We'll be back, I'm sure, this evening or tomorrow. Actually, I got an interview coming up later on this afternoon with snooker coach Stephen Feeney. So that'll
Nice.
be here in about 3 hours. So, Mike, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.
See you soon.